Wake that ass up.
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We got a special guest on the line and friend to the room, Amanda Seals.
Good morning.
Good morning.
West Coast.
She's up at 6 in the morning looking all styled and fabulous so early.
I tried to give y'all a little something. You know, we don't never leave the house. So it's like, here's an excuse for me to do something with my face and whatnot.
Do something with my face.
Well, first of all, I just want to say congratulations on the BET Awards because I think you pulled that off amazing. I know it's a different time for everyone, and we were like, how is this going to happen? But I got to ask you, how did that feel?
And you killed it.
Thank y'all. It felt good. I mean, it was trials and tribulations, you know, to do that. I don't think people really know the order of events that went down. Well, first of all, shout out to Jesse Collins, who produced BET Awards, and he, you know, I didn't even know he was looking for me to host it. He just called me and was like, "You want to host?" I'm like, "I mean, if you're doing it, yeah." So that was that. I was in Orlando at the time during the quarantine, and I had already scheduled to come back. So I came back, and my internet in my crib was acting up. Mm-hmm. Felt like real Teddy Riley in Versus. Mm-hmm. And so I ended up having to do my writer's room in my car down the street from my house for the Wi-Fi to work. So I was in my car for 5 hours every day for the week before the BET Awards. And shout out to my writers, Yasser Lester, Langston Kerman, and Sam J. And Kenise Mobley. We really put together, I believe, a unique show considering what was going on. And just, you know, and thank you to Jesse Collins and Dion Harmon because for what it's worth, like I didn't have to like get notes. Like it was literally like, Amanda, just do what you want to do. And it felt good to have that trust because I really do know what I'm doing. And I really felt like I could capture the time. We're in a weird ass, crazy time. We're in a beautiful time as well. And, you know, we are in a very thoughtful time. And I needed to walk a lot of lines and be in a lot of spaces at the same time as be funny, at the same time as be entertaining for no one in the immediate presence because I ended up having to do the joint in my house.
Yeah, how was filming with no crowd? Like there was nobody cheering, nobody saying anything. How was that?
So the night before we were supposed to go to the studio, because at least we were going to shoot in the studio, so I'd have my glam squad and, you know, the producer and the hello, this is Lando.
Hey, Lando.
Actually, no, that's Huri. Hi, Huri. You know, my cats look the same. It's like parents who are having twins and be mixing them up. Yeah, this is Huri. And so I really was expecting to at least have that. So then the night before, they were like, okay, crisis. One of your team tested positive for COVID.
Oh, damn.
Everybody got to be quarantined. We got to do this in your house.
Wow.
So I was like, because I called Charlotte. I was like, it's going to be whack. Oh, no, I'm a little corny as hell. And I had just done a bunch of press where I was like, it's not like we're going to be doing it in my house. Because also, like, you know, people are always doubting me anyway. So everyone's like, it's going to be boring. She corny. It's going to be whack. You know, what they going to do? It's going to be like her Insta story. And I'm like, oh, my God, it's going to be like my Insta story. And that was really frightening to me. And so
what's the first thing I told you? I said, you're going to take it back to the days when you was in Harlem in the basement with the green screen, okay, doing those sketches. All right. That's all you had to do. You was built for that.
You really, you know, Jamie Foxx had talked about this, but you really just don't realize how everything you've done ends up being training for what you're doing. Sure. Yep. That's why the process is so important because you really end up using everything that you've learned on that path. And, you know, we had already planned to do the sketches in the different BET shows. I didn't really know how that was going to end up being presented and how we were going to extrapolate that from being in my living room. But they were like, listen, we're going to send you a green screen. You need to set up the green screen. And
you did everything yourself. You had to tape everything, you had to do everything.
So my ex had come into town the night before. We will not name his name because he does not deserve it. But I did get him a credit because I'm a good woman.
You got a production.
And I got him a large check.
There you go.
Because, you know, even though if it's someone who loves you, they will help you out in that crisis just off the strength. It's like, you know, if I can get my man some bread, I'm gonna get my man some bread. Like that's just, you know, par for the course. He definitely complained the entire time he was setting it up, but nonetheless, it got set up, and I did end up shooting. Like I was shooting by myself. He didn't help me when I was shooting, so I definitely had to do my own makeup. Mm-hmm. I had to do my own hair. You know, I was dressing myself so I'm in my house, running to the bathroom on FaceTime with my makeup artist. Shout out to Renee Sanganu. Shout out to my hairstylist, Nikki B, and my wardrobe stylist, Brian Javar. Because we put together a whole vision, you know, I really hope people got it, that we were doing some playing homage to some classic looks and styles. You know, we had the Mary J look in there. We had a Dapper Dan look in there. You know, we gave you Hillary Banks, etc. So we were really trying to really do a convergence of Black nostalgia and really pay respects to just how style has played a role in this whole trajectory of Black culture. And so I was literally on FaceTime with them. I had a big old wig that I was wearing to show love to Free for 106 in Park, and the wig was like this big, and we didn't know what we were gonna do with the wig, and I just had to cut the wig. So I'm literally in the mirror while the team is waiting on the cameras. So we had remote cameras, so they had to communicate with me through the headphones remotely, and I'm just here in my living room. The cats is, you know, doing cat things.
How long did it take to do all of that? How long did that shooting take?
Well, we set up the night before, and then we started at 9 a.m. the next morning with the cameras. And then I filmed from 1 o'clock to 11 at night.
Wow.
But it was an exercise in efficiency. Mm-hmm. And I really will say this, and this is no shade to anybody, but I don't know who could have done it. I really don't, because I really had to use every talent I have, all of them. I was running the prompter, I'm micing myself, you know, I'm checking the shot. Producer, director, AD, talent. It was
You killed it though. You killed it.
Thank you. I had to cry the whole next day in true cancer fashion. You know, you're just I can't believe I did it.
You killed it.
It looks smooth on our end. I would have never thought that.
You would have never known I had a complaining ass Negro in this house, and I was doing everything by myself, and we were really on janky Wi-Fi.
I'm thinking there's a whole team. You and this, it looked like. But so there you go.
And you fixed the Wi-Fi too. I see the Wi-Fi is good money now. The Wi-Fi is
strong. Trying to be real strong with this Wi-Fi. Yes.
But once again, it's very important to know what she said. You know, you have to use every skill. Everything that you've ever done in your life will help you at some point. Amanda used to be in the basement in Harlem with the green screen up, producing, directing, writing the sketches. That turned into Smart, Funny, and Black, where she does the same exact thing. She did her web series, her scripted web series, where she was doing the same exact thing. She was built for this. This is easy for you.
I really, you know, you always give me the encouragement. You know what, though, I will say, and the moment, though, that was really critical for me was I still ended up having to do everything by myself, and I really don't want to.
I feel you.
And as a woman, I've just reached a point in my development where at one point it just was like independence was something that I definitely am so thankful and proud to have. But in my development as a woman, like I don't want to have that level of independence anymore in partnership. You know what I mean? And I know that you definitely need to be your own person. You absolutely need to be self-sufficient. But it was like, you know, I had someone here and I still had to like just be by myself. And that was so sad for me. And I think a lot of women, a lot of my peers, like we are in this place where we're just like, we've proven to ourselves that we can wear the cape. We've proven to ourselves that we can be everything and anything. We've done the strong Black woman thing, but you reach a point where you're really just craving softness. And you just, like in this quarantine, I just had a lot of epiphanies of just knowing that I've had to become a certain person by circumstance. And I think a lot of us, you know, we come to realize that our personality isn't oftentimes based on our core and our values. It's based on what we've had to build up in protections, you know, to the situations that we've been in and the people that we've been in. And I just don't want to have to be that person no more. I don't want to have to be hard no more. I don't want to have to really just keep pulling myself up. And you want to find partnerships, whether it's in business or friendship or for me, romantic, where you can really just be like, yo, put our heads together and elevate.
But you're a perfectionist though. You're a perfectionist. Like, see, you're something like even myself, where you never find anybody on your team that will work as hard as you.
That's not true. I found that.
Difficult to find. Well, you found it.
But I found that in my professional space, and it has been beautifully freeing. It really has, because it lets you let go and it lets you be.
I'm not there yet. I can't let go yet.
Oh my God, I welcome you. Like because it lets you be able to be creative. And I have to stress this again. I don't know, like soft is oftentimes like considered a negative thing, but I mean it in the sense of it lets you be receptive and it lets you be vulnerable, and it gives you a confidence and a foundation to know that that vulnerability is actually the strength, and that, you know, no matter what happens, you're so confident, not arrogant, but you're confident enough to know that no matter what happens, you gonna be straight because you're rooted. And I think so much of us in our work and in our love, like we don't have that trust in ourselves. So we're like always fighting and protecting. I know that I've been that person. Like I've thought for a long time I was ready for a relationship, and I didn't know that I wasn't. I am now. I mean, I've gone through a lot of breakthroughs in the past 6 months that really showed me like, you weren't expressing the person to the world that you are to yourself. Like you weren't, you couldn't, you didn't have the fortitude around you to do so. But in having like people that I work with that really trust me and trust themselves, it's really given me the ability to be able to like let that down and do great work, but not be stressed all day, not be micromanaging. And and you don't want to do that in your relationship either. Like you don't want to have to like be correcting nobody all the time. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't want to have to be like, I hope that they show up on this time. I hope that they don't play me this time. You know what I mean? When you can let that down, you can just be like, what are we doing today? Where we at? What's love?
It's a freedom and vulnerability. And I think we're all afraid to show our vulnerability because we don't want to get taken advantage of.
Yeah, but then at a certain point, you realize like anybody trying you is really trying themselves. So, you know, that strength that you think you're putting up to keep people from hurting you is doing the same work to keep people from loving you.
Right. I think it's really hard for women too, because a lot of times we do have to, there's this perception of women already like being soft and being a certain way. So we always try to overcompensate for that and act extra hard. That didn't affect me. I'm okay. It's cool. It's all good. You know, I can pick myself back up. You don't have to worry about it. And we try to make sure that we don't express emotion because people think as soon as you do that you're all emotional.
You know, on my latest episode of my podcast, Small Doses, I did side effects of feelings.
Yes, I saw that.
and we talked about the difference between emotional and emotional intelligence. And it's like, but there's nothing wrong with being emotional either. Like, you can have emotions. Like, that's the thing. We've been so trained to weaponize our emotions, but your emotions are the language of your soul. So if someone is trying to silence your emotions, they're silencing the actual core that you speak with. And if you can't speak with that, you're lying to yourself, you're lying to the world, etc. So once you're able to do that, you're able to really get to the core of like what you want, where you're going, you know, who's actually working in your space and who's not. And for women, you're right. Like, we've definitely reached a point where it's like, oh, you're being disruptive if you're emotional. You know, you're disturbing the peace if you express, you know, that something is bothering you. I'm not saying you got to be like, ah! But even if you just express like, hey, you know, that really was not, I didn't really feel good about that, you will still get deemed as having a tantrum, even if you express it just like that. And it's because you're making someone else feel emotions, and that's a disturbance for them, right? Because they're like, why are you bringing up things that, you know, I don't like? Emotions are things I don't like. And then we have a world that really just says that women are weaklings, and that says that emotions are weak. So for a lot of men, it's like, well, if this being that's considered weaker than me makes me feel weak, then I'm weak. So I can't let that happen. I need to be strong. I need to be a rock, and I can't, you know, play into that. And it's like, selflessness is actually the most self-loving act you can do, because when you let yourself be open and giving, you really are actually like protected. I really believe that.
Yeah, I agree with that too. And I wonder if people find folks like us exhausting, because when you're already a straight shooter and then your therapist tells you to be open and say exactly what you feel at all times, I wonder if our feelings are too much for others.
You wonder?
Yeah.
Nigga, of course. Like, we've been in this world how long? Yes. But I have learned, I've really learned restraint, and the power in restraint, and the love in restraint, and, you know, just being able to be more thoughtful about, yes, you need to get what's in you off you, but you can practice the pause that gives you the consciousness about someone else. And I will say this, it was harder for me to do that in relationship than it was like with friends or with business. Because in a relationship, you just feel like we can all let it all hang out. I'm gonna say whatever I need to say. You can say whatever you need to say. But when you start to really practice just the respect of speaking from a place of I like you, versus speaking from a place of like, you gonna hear me, nigga. Like, it really does change the exchange, and it creates a safe space. So my therapist has definitely been like, you know, you need to speak your mind. You need to not suppress, but you don't got to do that at the immediate time all the time.
Right, because then you might feel a little different when you think it. And one thing I've also learned in relationships is, instead of saying things like, you never do this or you always do that, you're supposed to say, it makes me feel like this when this happens, because you don't want to accuse and use those type of terms because it makes people defensive.
Attack. And then, you know, my brain works really fast. So you talking, I'm processing, I respond quick. You think we in an interrogation, you know? And this ain't the first 48, you know what I'm saying? But I be dating niggas that have definitely had a first 48 or two, and they be like, I've been through this before. This feels like the situation.
It's triggering.
Yes.
Now, can we talk about the real? And
of course,
you led the Underground Railroad to freedom, and now people are following you. How did that make you feel?
And by the way, when you said that, I said Amanda got a plan. When she does something, she got a plan.
You know what, though, to be honest, E, my plan was really just, I don't want to forsake my spirit or soul or integrity for this town ever again. And it's not that I went into it thinking that, because I didn't by any means. I really went into the real, like, this is going to be so dope, so fun, so great, because whenever I would guest, it felt like such a safe space. You know, it felt like they genuinely wanted to hear my voice, etc. So, you know, I definitely didn't go into it that way. But I don't like Hollywood. I hate this place.
What was
I love
Hollywood about it though? Because I thought you brought, like, you didn't change. Like, you never changed.
Brought
Like,
the real to the real. Say what it is.
You are who you are. Like, you never changed. I never seen you slip. I never seen you dive. Like, you're Amanda.
But behind the scenes, and that's really the lesson. I talked about this on Hollywood Unlocked. Like, you're so focused on what's happening on camera, but that's the least amount of time you're spending.
Right.
You spend like an hour on camera. The most of the time you're dealing with production. You're dealing with, your executives. You're not even dealing with your co-host like that. You kind of debrief and then you do the show. But it really becomes like about the system that's happening behind the scenes, with what's getting chosen about, what's getting spoken about, with how the protocol is for, complaints or concerns, et cetera. And so you just start to see like there's a culture in different places that you work that is toxic. And sometimes you just don't know that till you get there.
Right.
You just don't know that there is a whole way of being that is contrary to your way of being. And when you're in that space, it is incredibly jarring, because the last year was incredibly jarring for me. Just like becoming successful was incredibly jarring for me. Becoming truly visible. Fuck, I better not cry on this show this morning. I swear for the Lord.
Still can't.
It's okay to have emotions, as we just said.
I know, but I really tried to do my makeup, and I'm just trying to
That's a
maintain.
bigger problem, right?
The level of visibility that happened last year was like wild. And, some of it was associated with positivity. A lot of it was like negative things that I couldn't believe were happening. I couldn't believe that I was moving in a positive way, and then like such negativity would be attached to it. When I was moving in a way to what I thought was protect women, I was lied on, and just my character was completely, by many accounts, people felt like my character was no longer of merit. And to this day, I'm still dealing with that, simply because like a man said I lied, then that's it. Like there's no proof or anything. It's just
right.
because a man said I lied, and that was it. Like,
I know how that feels. I'm with you here, and no proof, nothing. Somebody could say anything, and then people run with it, and then they bring it up all the time. Anytime there's something going on, they like, well, she did this. Well, didn't she?
And
do
you're
this?
like,
and you're like that.
And they have no proof or validity. But that's that. Then you fast forward, and there was a whole Emmy party fiasco. And it was just like, I'm going somewhere to support, but it still ends up going like wild negative. And then because we're in this very visible space, it becomes this onslaught. And I have never had thick skin. I'm a Cancer. Like, so it was a lot. And, then people would say like, oh, you're playing the victim. And it's like, no, you're just not expecting that when you were moving in this intention that this would be the reaction. Right. And, it really wore on me, like for real wore on me. And then just coming to grips with the reality of like, that I'm not built for Hollywood. Because this is a town about opportunity and wealth and greed. And I'm not about that. Like I'm about quality and Black excellence and community. And I create from that space. And I had like a whole nervous breakdown in March. For real. And
not there to pass you tissue.
I know.
Okay.
It's all right.
I'm just thinking about it because I was in such a dark place. And I know so many people, like you just get to a point where you think like, I can't change myself, but the world hates me. And so then if I'm going to continue to be myself in the world, then I'm going to struggle all the time. And that makes you want to kill yourself because you're like, it's never going to get better. So what's the point? And that was a really like real place I was in. And anybody who knows me knows like I'm not a defeated person. And they know that I really come from a place of joy and gentleness. And let me just say, like, even though I referred to my ex and his whackness, one thing that he was beautiful at when he was in a good place was he really showed me like we were mirrors for each other. And he was the dude to ever see me the way I see myself. And I realized that like I've been in this business for so long without an advocate. And I've always had to be so hard to protect myself. And I wasn't getting to be like my true like self. And he was the first dude to ever be like, nah, like I love you because you're more beautiful inside than outside. I don't care about this rah-rah shit. Like I love you because, you know, if you see somebody with a cut in the airport, you're going to pull out a bandage kit and give it to them, you know, to put on their bandage. Mm-hmm. And, you know, unfortunately people have their own traumas and they prevent growth after a certain point. But what it allowed me to do is grow for myself. And when I had my breakdown, I realized that that's what I needed to do. Like I needed to make myself the passion project. Because I had put so much work into my work and into, you know, not being what people think I am and proving and all this stuff. And at the end of the day, I had started to believe what they had made up about me, which is that I'm not a loving person and that I don't deserve love and that I'm not a likable person. And I've said it before, if you're not careful, you'll let the people who know you least make you feel like you don't know yourself. Right. And I know so many people are in that place right now and they don't know if they'll get out of that place, that dark space where you really don't like yourself and where you really feel like I can't change and the world doesn't like the version that I am. So what's the point of being in the world? And it wasn't until I started really approaching therapy and then I started boxing because I realized I had all this anger in me and I needed to beat that shit out, you know, and I started doing Reiki and I really just started just letting myself be open to like whatever the possibilities are for me to feel healthy again and well. And a lot of times our ego won't even let us do that, right? We're like, affirmations are corny, therapy is for crazy people, you know, I don't need boxing, I'm cool, you know, and I just was like, I let down all those guards and I found just a peace. I really learned to love myself and I didn't realize that I did not before.
I can see it though. Like I can see the glow. It's a lot different.
Thank you. It's not from fucking because I ain't getting none of that.
You know what's interesting, Amanda? Okay, small doses. So what's interesting is what you just had to say. In this book, you talk about when you realized that you had made it and that you were, you know, you went out this one night and you were in
Black famous.
Yes, Black famous, and people were recognizing you and how your friends were with you and they were like, you did it. Like, this is what you worked so hard for. And people on the outside looking in think that, okay, she's got this spotlight on her. She's got the HBO special. She's got Insecure. She did The Real, chose to leave. And she's got the book out and she hosted the Beats, all of those things. And they just see like, they think that A, they could say anything they want to you. And then they think that B, automatically you're just happy and in a good space. And they don't understand like there's a gift and a curse to being in a position where, you know, you have to unapologetically say what you feel and also be in the spotlight. And, you know, you worked really hard to get to this point, right? And it's not like you asked to be famous. You're just working at something that.
Yes, it's a byproduct.
Right.
It's a side effect.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it requires aggressive self-acceptance. You know, you just got to really reach a place where you're like, I'm loved because I love me and I love me because God put me here.
Mhm.
And in that love, I can explore things that I want to improve on, right? In that love, I can explore, things that I haven't considered. In that love, I can accept things that other people may not like, but that I like about myself, and that's what, to me, owning your power really is. Owning your power is really just understanding that in loving yourself, you're also giving yourself room to grow. And you're also giving yourself room to say no. Like, this is not for me anymore. This is darkness and I want to live in light. This is hardness and I want to be soft. Like, my conversation with Hollywood is like, I want to be somebody's woman and be in a beautiful, healthy relationship that fuels my work versus my work fueling me to be a catch.
Gotcha.
And that's what I think a lot of us inadvertently or advertently think. And I know that inadvertently, I absolutely thought that. And that's not, I'm not there anymore. Like, that's just not valuable to me. I'm always going to I could die today and I've made a legacy of work, that fills people up, that makes people happy, that makes people angry, whatever. But we are also in a time of great consciousness. And in that consciousness, you come to understand, like, especially as Black people, we have to be able to love ourselves first so that we can love our community. And the first thing I feel like so many of us are taught when we leave our house is how to not love ourselves. We are shown every day reasons not to love ourselves. You're thugs, you're drug dealers, you were slaves, whatever. Even positive things get distorted and put against us. So it's real work. Like, this thing is real work. It's real work to be in a relationship with yourself and with other people. And so I've just found that that's more valuable to me. It's not to say that I'm not going to continue acting and performing. It's not that's my purpose. But I've just found that what fuels that is very different than what I thought fueled it at one point in time.
With everything that you do, the industry is the industry when you're dealing with Hollywood. So do you say, you know what, I'm going to stay away from that, or I'm only going to do things that I produce so I can control the narrative?
And I've worked hard as hell to be able to do that. I've paid my dues. Like, you don't necessarily always get to do that off the bat, but I've paid my dues to be able to say, I only want to work with people I want to work with. I only want to do Black things. I want to build up my own companies. I started Smart, Funny, and Black behind a comic book store. Now it's a production company. We have a membership only app called SFB Society, which I started during quarantine. But it's a safe space for Black folks and allies to fight the power as well as fight for our joy. Because I felt like I wasn't getting to do that in social media and in the world. So I just made a space for myself and others to do that. You can go to sfbsociety.com. And, we have the SFB Podcast Network coming. I've got apparel coming. But I realized, that my strength for me came in having my own independent space to create. Like, even Smart, Funny, and Black was a live show. We made it Smart, Funny, and Black in the crib. So we have a virtual show. The next one is July 31st. We've already done 2. But that's another thing that you're saying, though, is like, you get told that you can't be independent, especially as a woman. You get told kind of like that you have an ego if you want to just focus on your own work. It's not to say you don't have a team, but I have a lot of ideas. I don't necessarily need to do other people's ideas. Like, when Tyler Perry does it, it's, oh, he's an innovator, he's a maverick, but if you do it, it's you're a narcissist or you're conceited. And it's like, nah, I'm an ecosystem. I got a lot in here.
I wonder why it's so easy for people to believe the negative we hear about ourselves from others, but not believe the positive we know about ourselves and tell ourselves.
I mean, it's like, look how quickly cancer spreads, and I think also, we are made of atoms. We have protons and neutrons and electrons. We have positive and negative charges. So it's always there. I think that's why the whole positive affirmation thing ends up being so necessary, because it's as if you're building up an emotional immune system to challenge those negatives, because your receptors are always there just as the reality of being a being. You know, the negative receptors are there. So you got to work to build up your positive receptors. And that really does take work. And we don't put enough energy into that work. We're actually told that that work is corny, you know, or that work makes you a simp, etc. But it's beautiful when you do it, because it starts to make it where like the negative shit is, it's gross. It's like you can't even connect to it. It feels so unnatural because you've done this like Shaolin practice of only attracting positive. And even as I talk about it, there's still a part of me that's like, you sound corny, yo. You sound corny.
Nah, you
But
don't
it's
sound
like,
corny, no.
but it's
You
not.
don't sound corny.
It's a work in progress. Like you got to continue to work at it because the world isn't working that way in a real space. So you're always like finding yourself in situations where you have to come up against like, oh, I got to really put this thing out there. But I think it's because we are in a negative world. So like the world is built to me more so to run on negative than positive. And that's why you got to make sure your world doesn't run on that. So that even when you got to go out in the world, you can come back into a space. Like I want to be in a positive space at all times. Challenging things, you know, questioning things, growing things is not negative. It doesn't have to be negative. That's why like with your partner, simply stating like this behavior didn't really feel good to me doesn't have to be a negative, because what your intention is positive growth. So you want to be able to have the other person know that at all times. Know that whenever you're coming with that, you're never coming to their neck. You're always coming to the elevation.
But
and
you know what, though? You know what I
you
was
want to
saying?
work with people that think that way too.
Something that Charlamagne, he always jokes about, right? He's been joking about this for like the last year or so, right? From behind the scenes, he'd be like, "Yo, I'm not if it's not good for my mental health, I'm not doing it." And now, I don't care what it is.
Why I'm joking when I say that?
But you know what? Because we joke all the time. We be like,
I'm telling you the truth.
Like it's not good for my mental health. Like you use that. We be like, "Yo, we got to go to Florida." It's not good for my mental health.
It's not.
But when it comes to it now, if I don't feel happy about it, or it doesn't put me in a good mood, or it's not good for my mental health, I don't do it. And you know what? I don't explain myself.
Nope.
I'm just not doing it. Take it how you want to take it. You're not gonna see me. I'm not gonna do this. I'm not going there. I'm not doing. And I'm not gonna explain. Ask me why.
I try to do things for other people all the time, even if I don't feel like it. Not all the time, but
I'm not doing it no more.
Nope.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing.
That I don't want to do.
Sometimes you have to check though. Am I not doing this because of old habits? Like, is it making me feel not good because of old things? Or is it making me feel not good because of new? Because I've definitely found myself in situations where I had to check myself, like, oh, you feeling that you have to put up this boundary because of your old habit of protection. And really, you're keeping out something that could be positive. So I, you know, in my work, so even like Ange, like you're like, yo, I sometimes do things for people, you know, even though I don't want to. And it's like, yes, because in certain spaces you have to understand, like, I'm doing this for them because I'm in a practice right now of doing positive. I'm doing this because I'm in a practice of selflessness, and I need to make space for that. Now, what you get tripped up in my opinion, is when you're doing stuff for people and they take that for granted to a point where it is exhausting, it is parasitic, it is draining for you, you know? Because I know that. Like, people will see that and drain that out of you. And that's what
it's definitely a balance, you know, because sometimes there's people that have done so much for you and they need something. You might not feel like doing it, but you're like, I know I got to hook my peoples up because I know they'll do it for me. And when you do things and agree to do it, I think you can't go with an attitude either. Even if you don't feel like it, you got to go. You got to
come with enthusiasm. That's the other thing. I don't want nobody around me anymore that isn't coming with enthusiasm to be around me. Sorry. And you could say like, oh, here she go again. Listen, I don't want you around me if you ain't happy to be around me. And even if you going through it, check that at the door. Like, maybe we can not even maybe, we can make space to talk about it. But at the end of the day, it's like, I want you to be happy in this space. And so often, I mean, I said a tweet that rubbed some people the wrong way, but it's like, if his eyes light up when he talks to his boys, I said, if his eyes light up when his boys call, but they're empty when it's just y'all, focus on yourself, sis. Focus on yourself. Because whether it's someone working for you whether it's your partner, whether it's your peoples, it's like, if you ain't happy to be here, we don't got to do this. We really don't. And whenever I do stuff for people, I make sure that I'm coming in that space like, what we doing? I said I was going to do it, and I'm here to do it. It can't feel like a favor, because if you're coming from positive, it's good for both of us. So,
and people are having a really rough time right now, and I think we also have to understand that too. And so while some of us are fortunate to be still working, it might not be at the level that we were. There's people that really need us right now to do things that are beneficial, that are helpful to them. And I don't see a problem with that if I can do it. And if it's not a problem for me and it's, not something that I'm against morally, then, I try to do what I can.
We have to really establish community in a real way. Mm-hmm. I always say, like, in a kinetic way, not a cosmetic way. We have to establish community in a kinetic way, not a cosmetic way. Meaning cosmetic is on the surface. Kinetic is actual energy exchange and movement. And I think a lot of us have these buzzwords, that we throw out, but in the real world of things, we have to get to a new understanding of what society is for us and what exchange is and what it is to be an actual person of a people. If you have a business, how do you write into your business? How do you write service into your business? Mm-hmm. All of these corporations should have service written in to their company, and not just I give a percentage, but it's like, how do you create elevation from where the perch is that you've made it to? And that's for every level of your business, whether you are a giant conglomerate or whether you're me and a small Black owned, Black woman owned company that's really trying to just grow from a place of consciousness. It's still like, how do I make sure that I'm in service to the community that serves me? And like, I know, like, the work I'm doing, I'm a radical Black woman. I really just want to make comedic, conscious Black content. You think I'm about to get sponsors? Like, so I know that it's going to come from,
because times are changing.
Yes, now is the time. They looking.
Consciousness is changing. So yes, you will.
To show some,
I mean, ultimately though, I don't depend on, I don't depend on the corporate capitalist space. I depend on the grassroots space of the folks that I'm giving work to, to give resources back to continue that work. I don't want, if I'm going to have a partner, they got to be silent, because I'm on a vision and a purpose that is led by something so much bigger than me. And I got to be able to have the freedom and trajectory to do that and understand, like Eddie Glaude's new book about James Baldwin. It speaks to what James Baldwin was saying is the necessity of the writers in this time. The irony is that in this time is still this time, right? Because nothing has changed in the root of Black oppression and discrimination, et cetera. It's still a driving force happening beneath us. But the role is to continue to raise consciousness and continue to expose and continue to challenge us to reach for so much truth that it scares not only those who are continuing to lie about who Black folks are and where we're going, but it should scare us. It should scare us into, like, awakenings. And that's where I want to make everything I work from. I want to make at least one person be like, oh shit, let me approach different. Let me find out I can have more than they've told me. Let me find out that I am more than they've told me.
I think one thing you said that's very important too, man. Like, you have to monitor who your energy goes up and down around. Like, when I see certain people on my phone, I'm like, yes, it's my folks, you know what I mean? And I'm at the point in my life, I only want to talk to people I love. I only want to be around the people I love. I don't have time for anything else.
It's like, I was telling somebody, one of my peers, that I'm only going to work with people I like. And she was like, that's not possible. And I was like, I'm only working with people I like, and you can too. Like, I had to invite her to know that for herself. And she is my senior. Right. But I had to let her know, like, you can do that too. Cut the shit. Like, And I just feel like when we are able to do that, that's why I try and encourage folks in school, like, curate your education. Because when you get out of here, like, that's the only thing they can't take from you.
Right.
And if we lived in a world where people got to do what they actually wanted to do, we'd have a different world. The same way I say, like, if you get another night, it's a different morning.
Yeah, you're right.
It is.
But you know what? That's what I also tell people about financial freedom. And the reason I say that is a lot of people will invest in things that they don't necessarily need. And then when the shit hits the fan, they feel like they have to do something. And I'll never put myself in that.
Like, what do you mean?
Like some people feel like they have to go to a job where they might not like their boss or they might not like their coworker because they have to support their family or they have to pay their bills.
But you do need, but you don't think listen, there's also being responsible. Remember when I was at Sirius and I wanted to quit and you'd be like, no, you have to come to this job because you don't have any money.
But at that time, we didn't have financial freedom at that time.
Yeah, but a lot of people don't have financial freedom.
Right.
And a lot of people don't even know that they can achieve that.
Right.
And he forgets he's in the 1%.
Yeah.
When you're in the 1%, there's 99% of people who don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
No, but financial freedom doesn't mean you have to be rich and a millionaire. It means you'd be able to pay your bills for a small amount of time and not have to worry about your job. Like there's a lot of people out there that don't necessarily buy luxurious things, but make sure they can put their money in other streams of income, whether it's stocks, whether it's small things to make sure they can make a lot of money and don't have to worry about that. Doesn't mean that.
Well, it's the same way there's a lot of, I mean, listen, like, the truth of the matter is, like, I will always come back to this, like, the hardest thing that this world makes, to me, the world makes it so hard for you to have, like, internal freedom.
It does.
And when you have that, you can go work for anybody, really. You know, and you're like, I'm gonna come here and do this little job and be out of here, you know, and then what ends up happening naturally is you just start moving, energy shifting into spaces that are better for you. And you find yourself getting opportunities outside of, you know, the ones that you thought were only available to you just because you're attracting something different. Mm-hmm. And, you know, I know folks, for instance, who will say all day, like, I gotta hustle. Like, that's my only option. Like, I don't got nothing else. So I gotta hustle. And you're like, that's not your only option, but that's the only thing that you feel like makes you feel powerful.
And sometimes you have to get to that point where you can say, you know, for me, I think when I was younger, a large part of what used to really make me nervous was I have to make sure that I can one day be able to have a roof over my head and not have to worry about paying rent and to own something. And so once I bought my house and I paid off my mortgage in January, it made me feel very comfortable, especially right now, to know that no matter what, I just got to pay the taxes on this house every year. And, you know, and then the juice bar, I'm like, look, if everything else don't work out, I go work at my juice bar and I can make enough money to pay the taxes every year and pay my bills if, God forbid, nothing else happened. And I don't, you know, so I think things like that give me a level of comfort, but it took a long time to get to that point where I felt comfortable enough.
I mean, the deal I made with myself during this quarantine, when I had these various epiphanies, you know, and you go, I mean, all types of epiphanies about abandonment issues, epiphanies about, you know, narcissistic trauma and the narcissistic responses that you have to that and how you break down those triggers. Within those breakthroughs was me also realizing, like, I don't need more wealth. I would be more than happy to simply just continue to work with my businesses and my companies and build those from the ground up in a nurtured, loving space. And that will feed me financially, but more importantly, will feed me intellectually and internally. And that is more valuable for me right now. And I understand for people who are listening, like, there's privilege in getting to that space.
Yes, absolutely.
There is privilege in getting that space. And I am so thankful for the opportunity to even have that privilege. But I also know that I really worked for that, you know, like that wasn't provided to me.
It took a while.
But it says though, that it is it is available to everyone, even though everyone's journey to it may be very, very different. It is available to everyone. And I think that for a lot of folks, it really looks like it's only available to white people. You know, it really does feel like that. It feels like it's only available. It feels like it's only available to light-skinned people. It feels like it's only available to pretty people or to skinny people. You know what I mean? But it really is available to everybody. And I just want us to do better at, and particularly for brothers to do better at telling other brothers, like, you have everything within you to find peace within you so that you don't have to do the things that hurt you. And I just know so many brothers that are doing things that hurt them and don't feel like they can tell anybody else and don't feel like they can make another choice. And it prevents them from being who they really want to be and being loved in a way that they really can be loved and being the leaders that we really want to see in our community.
That's why telling our stories matter. That's why explaining what's going on with you matters. You know, that's why representation matters. People have to see it. Like, they have to see another brother coming from where they come from and really, like, going to do the work. Like, brothers don't know nothing about therapy if you don't tell them about it. Brothers don't know you can go get healing if you don't have that conversation with them.
But then you have cats who, like, had to go to court-appointed therapy and the therapist snitched on them. So now they're like, fuck therapy. I'm not doing that. You know, like there's so many traumas that we're all dealing with. And at a certain point, a lot of people, especially men, because of patriarchy, their pain metastasizes into pride. And next thing you know, you proud of your pain.
Yep.
And what do we do with things we're proud of? We protect them.
Protect them. And that's when you
So
start.
now you're protecting your pain. And if you're protecting your pain, how are you going to ever let it go?
And leading with ego.
Because ego feels strong and ego feels safe. I know about that. And when I made a shift in my relationship, it ended up extending to how I shift to a shift with the world. But the shift was really realizing, like, I don't need you to know I'm right every time. I can also just demonstrate this is the space I'm coming from. I don't need you to, I made a shift in my relationship where I realized that I can present something in a way that says, let's be about this versus I'm about this. And I realized that that was my ego because it was trying to protect me from the disappointment of the other person not being on the same page as me. And you come to understand in the freedom that it doesn't matter if they're not on the same page as you. Maybe they're just not, and maybe this just doesn't work. And that in life frees you from a lot of, like, you know, but that protecting our pain shit, that's a Black thing for sure too. You know, because when you don't got much, you like, I'm gonna just hold on to whatever I got. And that shit is potent as hell, you know? And then we create such beautiful art from it. That you like, maybe I need to hold on to this because I'm making some real tangible gold. You know what I'm saying?
But when you get to that point, that's saying, like, you're afraid to grow.
Yeah.
You're afraid to evolve. You're afraid of the new you.
And other people are afraid of the new you too. You know, like, I've definitely been in situations where I present a different form of me and people are like, what's this? You know, or they'll try to be like, you wasn't like this before. Irrelevant. We're here now. Welcome.
Of course I wasn't like this before. I wasn't 40 before. I wasn't 30 before. You evolved. Like, yes.
I just turned 39. Like, I just realized this shirt looks like a vagina.
The mic looks like a penis inside of the vagina.
Yes. Shout to Janina's album cover.
Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
I get Mina Elliott vibes from that.
She's a July 1st Cancer. Shout to Missy,
Yep.
my fellow July 1st Cancer. But yeah, you know, it's always fun to come talk to y'all because I always know there's gonna be like self-reflection, there's gonna be career reflection, there's gonna be Black reflection, you know, and you all create such a unique space.
It's beautiful watching you grow, Seals.
Yeah, Sales. We love you and we appreciate you for checking in.
Yeah,
I mean, I really was like, I don't even know what we're gonna talk about, but it's about a 6-month schedule when I come on here.
always
And the
got
people
to
are
check.
like, why is she on there? Because they my friends. Fuck
We
y'all.
Yeah.
wanted to have you on
She
before
a week
the
ago.
BET Awards, but I'm kind of glad we had you after so we could.
So I was supposed to, and that morning is when I found out I was doing it in my house.
I called you.
I was like,
you just gonna cancel on us like that?
no. I was like, they canceling on me, and then my ex is like, they trying to cancel and let Taylor Swift hold the shit. I know what they like. Like it was mayhem in here. So, it was definitely like, I didn't want to cancel, but in the hindsight of it all, to me, it was like, let's come on here. The BET Awards to me was so beautiful because it was the blackest shit BET has ever done. And it was so, and not because we were like, just like, I'm black, y'all, because I'm black, y'all, because I'm black. It was because we showed such a range of where people's minds are right now. And all of it was still black, like.
Everybody rose to the occasion of the moment that we were in. Nobody ignored it. Everybody faced it head on and said, no, I need to be reflecting what's going on right now. But
to me, it's like, not every performance needed to be like revolution. Like I found beauty and peace in Masego's performance. He's just in his house surrounded by all these florals. Like I love seeing Usher and Summer, where Usher's in one space and Summer's in another space, and they both come together, because to me, that was representative of like, when we find peace and tranquility in our own unique spaces as men and women and come together, we are so much stronger. And that's what that performance said to me, which is still revolution, because Black love is revolutionary. But I really was so honored to be a part of that show, particularly because of the time we're in. And
there was nobody better. Nobody better to host it. And it's I know years ago, you had these visions in your mind of hosting the BET Awards. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because I don't want to speak for you, but I feel like it was everything you thought it would be.
Well, first of all, that I'm a loner. So it was like, I don't got to do a red carpet. I don't got to go talk to folks. I don't got to, shake hands and kiss cheeks with, what I'm saying? Like, we all know the game we have to do, what I'm saying? Like, and that's not even necessarily the game. That's just being polite, right? That's just being civil and social. But sometimes you're just like, especially in what's going on right now, you're like, I don't want to we can't even do that. So it was dope to actually just be kind of in an incubated space with my creatives and my writers and my producers. But then it got even like more incubated. And that was, a little much, but it was, I would love to host it again when it's live.
Right.
I can't wait.
This film will be in the history books forever. So it's an unprecedented time. And I think, clearly you made the most out of it and put on a great show that people weren't even thinking about that. So
thank you. I really hope that people watched it and felt full. And I know a lot of people have said they watched it more than once. And Stan Lathan hit me and said he loved it. And as far as I'm concerned, that no one else matters.
That's right. Well, thank you again, man. We appreciate you. And we're going to check up, or I'm going to check up on you more often. And I'm sorry.
Can you please?
I'm
Let me tell y'all, Rashawn
Okay.
was my ace. Like before Charla, before Ange, there was Rashawn, holding a birthday cake is serious. Like this is, it really is family. And I say it every time when I come on here, because I want people to know too, like, as much as I just talked about how degrading and frustrating Hollywood is, you when you find the people that rock with you, hold on to them. Like I hosted the BET Awards, not just because I was the right person, but because the right person knew I was the right person.
right.
And those relationships for me are real. Like Jesse Collins is my friend, like my boy Brian Smiley at Kevin Hart at Heartbeat, that's my friend. Like there's people that are in this business that you build relationships with that, love you. Tiffany Leah Williams, who just went back to BET, that's my friend.
Family.
And, like these are people that have seen you. Tiffany told me, she was like, girl, I ain't gonna lie to you. There was times when I was like, something got to give. She, this ain't working for her. Something got to give. And, You know, and I know she's telling that to Shar, like, I don't know, something got to give, you know? And, you know, a lot of times that give, it's not just you. It is that positive love that you have from those other people. So, you know, I always thank y'all and appreciate y'all for.
I wasn't with none of that give shit. I'm like, nope. Let Amanda Seales show up as her full motherfucking self. Okay? That's what I like. If it rubs some people the wrong way, hey, it ain't for everybody.
But that's what gave. When it's something got to give, what gave is that a space gave way for me to be my full self. You know, and part of that was me standing on my own too, but that was also by the relationships that I'd made and by people seeing that authenticity in me and saying, make room, make room. And so if you are in that position, make room. I know that I'm, you know, as I advance in this business, I'm in more of a place of being able to make room for that authenticity. And when you do that, you just create more of a trend for that to happen. And then eventually, I hope it starts to knock out all the fake and phony. You know, there's no air for it to breathe.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Miss Amanda.
We tried to say goodbye 3 times. And it's gonna work.
One last thing. No, I'm kidding.
Well, actually, one last thing. Go to smartfunnyandblack.com. You know, check out my production company, my work, my growth. You know, I want to encourage everybody who's a creative to understand that this is a process, but that you really can make a creative life for yourself. And as a creative, you're going to have to create your life. And in that, we always know that you may get pain on your hands, you may get, you know, splinters, etc., but it's worth it.
All right. Well, it's Amanda Seales. It's the Breakfast Club. Good morning.